Okay, so we're live now. Now I can just kind of sit back and talk to you. So what's going on, man? Excited to see you here.
I'm excited to be here, man. Not a whole lot. Winding down for the season. Got my last wedding on Saturday. Excited to do that and then take like a month of naps.
Yeah, a whole month. That's a good month.
Yeah.
I should probably introduce you before we just have a conversation.
Yeah, if you want to. You don't have to.
Kind of like, no, we're just gonna jump in. So
This
this is Alex Medvec. He is a photographer based out of Colorado, over in Boulder, right?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
cool. So I always get it's like Denver, Boulder. I don't know. I know I fly into Denver to hang out with you. So
Technically, I'm in Gun Barrel, which sounds like really rootin' tootin', but it's just the Boulder suburbs.
okay, so we're in Boulder. So you're in Boulder.
Yeah.
So you have been a photographer for how many years now?
I've been doing weddings for at least 7. We'll go with that. That's the easiest answer. Weddings for 7 years.
Yeah, that's intense. And you've done courses all over the place. You've kind of learned from different places, and then you took my course, and now you got like a big 20K plus win. Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
So how'd that happen?
So I had a handful of leads coming in one week, and coincidentally they all ended up being on the same day, which is like a lot of pressure, but also like a lot of excitement.
Yeah.
So I mean, going into that, I like booked every single one in that day, which is absolutely insane. One of them being like my highest package. I mean, they're choosing between my 2 top packages. They signed a contract for like the day of. But regardless of what they choose, it will be the highest amount ever. And between the 3, very much the highest amount I've ever booked in a single day.
Yeah.
Regardless, which is pretty awesome, man. I'm stoked.
Yeah, I mean, who's not going to be stoked about an extra 20K in their pocket, right?
Sure.
And those 2 packages they're jumping between. It's not like they're low end packages. You're like in between. I think you said 8 and 12.
Yeah, between 8 and 12.
Yeah, 8 and 12,000. By the
If
way,
they slide into a 10, that's pretty cool. I'm cool with
okay.
that.
Yeah, who cares about 10's good? I'll take 10. Anything over 5, I'm usually pretty excited about.
Yeah.
You know, for me, I average around kind of like the 10 range at this point, but I also only take 10 to weddings, so I'm pretty selective.
You're better looking, Chris Pratt.
I don't know about better looking. Definitely more broke. That would be one thing we could say. But no, it's really exciting to see kind of like this change in you, because I know we've done a workshop together before. You came and then you did a few other courses with me, and then you did my actual course, the one that I actually created, and now you're just seeing these huge, massive wins after all this years of just kind of like. I feel like you like almost were in the library for the longest time, like continuously learning, but not making, the changes you were hoping for. And now
I was floating. I was just kind of floating.
Yeah, it's a little bit of flowing. It's all good.
You're not drowning. It's not terrible. I'm not dying.
No,
but
it's not the home run you're hitting now. I mean, someone buying your anchor collection, potentially, and being at that 20K plus range, no matter what, is just whoa. It's huge.
Yeah.
And then those are new market, or are those back in Philly?
Those are actually all 3 in the new market, which is in and of itself a kind of a crazy win, right? Like I'd be stoked just to book that back in Philly. Sure. But to have that in my new market that I've spent less than a year in, collectively lived 4 months there, is kind of awesome.
Yeah. I mean, and there's so many wins in this too. It's like, okay, well, first we have the cash wins, right? But getting all 3 on to the consultation process, which because I created it, I kind of know like it's a phone. It's not just like you do a phone call, then you do it like a video conversation. So like it's a lot of steps to even get to that consultation point, and then to have the contract signed afterwards.
Yeah.
What do you feel like was the biggest change for getting people like on the phone to actually moving into a consultation with you?
So like not scaring them away on the phone. Yeah. So not showing my face is a big part of it. No. So I think a large
actually, I'm just kidding.
So I think a big takeaway from Manifest and like the other work we've done together, it wasn't even necessarily one specific thing. It really just encouraged me, as far as the initial phone call, to kind of rework how I like state my value, how I sort of provide my intentions and the things that I value, the way I show up. So I sat down after one of our calls and was like, hey, I have to like rework how I'm saying these things, because like what I want to say, what I mean, isn't necessarily lining up with the way I say it. Not that they're like we're crazy far apart.
Sure.
But I was like, there's so much like more intentionality I can bring to this.
Yeah. wild because you get into the conversation space, right? And it's
Mhm.
the tiny little like minor adjustments where the giant impacts come from.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I reworked a lot of that. And I feel like that's increased the amount of people who are like, oh wow, yeah, holy shit. Yeah, this makes sense. Like let's look at his face. Let's see if he's ugly or not. And then we go from there.
Yeah, then you remove the bag and it's all good. No,
Yeah.
there
Yeah.
is no bag process in the course. In case everyone's like, does he tell people to wear a bag? If you book wearing a bag, then I want to see a recording of that booking. To be honest, uh, that'd be
That's
great.
your Christmas gift, Roy.
Yeah. So, I mean, you were in the course for you did August, I think, right? Is that
I
the group you were
think
in?
so. The
Yeah.
months don't really mean
Yeah.
anything here.
Time is a concept.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's been just a couple of months since you finished out the course, and now we're seeing like giant wins. I mean, your biggest booking ever. With that said, like going through Manifest, what do you think like your biggest takeaway from what from the whole program was?
Ooh, single biggest takeaway. I'm really
Yeah.
bad with that. I think,
That's why I asked.
yeah. I mean, I think it kind of comes down to the way you articulate your value and what you do.
Hmm.
Right. Because I think
Yeah.
the temptation is often, people come to us and they've already kind of pre-commodified us in their heads.
Yeah.
And so like the battle is ultimately like, okay, how do we like show them this isn't just a commodity? This is like an experience. There's like a tremendous lifelong value to this.
Right.
Um, so I think the biggest thing has been all the different little ways that I'm communicating that better now and
Yeah.
drawing people in and getting to know them better. And then, through getting to know them better, like showing them the value in what we do rather than just being like, yeah, show you get the $3,900 wedding photographer down the road and he's going to give you all the files and like a huge ass album and like
Yeah.
sign the check done.
I think that's
Like,
important to know too. Like you basically, I'm not going to say you were talking down about the $3,900, but you see that it's cheap now because you
Mhm.
realize the value in what you're doing. And like there are people that are in the group, I'm sure, that are like they're itching to get to that $3,000 level. And I would say it's mostly it's a psychological thing, really. Like
Yeah.
it's just understanding the value. And I'd say even with your consultations, do you feel like, because I feel like with mine, this is how it works. Like I'll talk to them, I'll get their deeper information out, and then I can apply that back to the photos directly. Like, do you feel like you have a better grasp on what to take while you're at the wedding because of how you're learning about the people?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I literally tell them on the phone, like, I think like you don't want just want a pretty photo. And like, don't get me wrong, I can take pretty pictures, but like at the end of the day, you guys matter more than that. The things you care about, the people you care about, that's what's important. And that's what's going to make your photos awesome. And then
Yeah.
we take it from there and I get to know them and starting the consultation, but then throughout the whole thing, figuring out like what do you actually give a shit about, like is it the cake? Like if it's the cake, we'll shoot the cake all day. But it's probably not just the cake. Like there's probably a lot more there that's worth knowing.
I think I'd be really surprised if it wasn't like a baker's wedding and they were really like, no, the cake's the most important thing we have here. Like forget the
Ooh.
wedding, it's the cake. No, it's really great. Did you have like a favorite week that kind of like really stuck out to you? Was it like week
Oh
3?
man. So
I know
I
we're going
forget,
back.
I'll be honest, I forget which week lined up to which
Yeah,
one.
I got you. I can
Um,
actually here, we'll pull up the little I got like a one of these screens has got this thing in here. So if
I
we look
loved
at go ahead.
I love the week where we like very granularly went through the consultation process.
Week
And I
3.
think yeah, week 3, I really like that. And you kind of prepped it before then. Like you were kind of showing the why before we got to the how.
Yeah.
So kind of prepped for it and then going into like the very specific how and what of it. I was already sort of in that headspace and I was like, oh, okay, so this is if we value this is how we're going to articulate that.
Yeah,
And
for sure.
yeah.
Yeah, and I think that there's a reason I teach it that way too. So like even if you get the video version of the course, just for accountability purposes, you don't get access to everything right off the bat. It's every 2 weeks you get new content released to you because you have to get that homework done. Every week is compounded on each other. So if you don't do the homework from week 1 and then you're working on week 2 stuff, your week 2 stuff is going to be weaker than it would be if you had finished the week 1 stuff. And so, I know
Yeah.
there's this temptation like, oh, I want to get more leads in. So that's like the first jump. But if I teach you how to make leads first without telling you how to actually work with that lead, I'm not doing you a favor. I'm actually just helping you tank your own leads.
Yeah. And actually, I do want to say I appreciate that, in the course that I did with you,
Yeah.
you're like, yo, I'm not giving you all the homework yet. Like, I'm waiting because you got to make sure you put all the effort into the first part and then we can come back to the second part. Because the temptation is to skip ahead and look at the end.
Yeah.
That was me as a kid. I was always looking at the end of books like, oh, well, that's how Magic Treehouse ends. I don't need to read that. Um,
Yeah. Well, I even say in the course, like when we do the lives, it's it could be a 2 or 3 hour live, depending on the group. Don't go do your homework immediately afterwards. Like, I understand there's the temptation to get everything done right away, but your mind was just like, you just listened to a lecture for 3 hours. It's not time to go do homework right away. That's why that time in between is really important, because you have time to think about it. It's like the
mhm.
speed in which we do things is not actually, it's not an improvement on what we're doing. It's actually like it just sets you up for a bigger fail when you're just trying to jump ahead to things.
Yeah.
Um, so just so you know, because I know you said you didn't remember all the weeks. This is actually what the weeks look like. So we've got four sessions essentially. Session 1 goes through your ideal client, the homepage, the experience page, the contact page, portfolio, and then we do like a Q&A at the end. Session 2 was competitor analysis, fixing our pricing sheets and kind of raising those up. By the way, as a photographer for like 7 years, do you feel like you adjusted your pricing guide significantly from this?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Everyone's always like, well, I already kind of know how to do this. Like, well, you probably haven't done it this way before, and you're not thinking about it at this deep level yet. And so then we
Yeah.
talk about building a la carte menus, pricing for profit so that we're not going broke, which is really important, by the way. And I feel like I'm just going to say this: if you're shooting weddings for under, let's say, $2,000, you're shooting to go broke. Like,
Mhm.
something happens, let's say COVID happens. I don't know, because that happened before, right? So something like that happens. You don't have enough budget to move your weddings to the next year without going completely broke. And so you're doing a
Mhm.
huge disservice to your clients without that kind of psychology going through in your pricing. Um, you're going to drop the ball. Session
Yeah.
3, your favorite, was my inquiry to anniversary workflow, where we talked about every single session we had in here. And I'm pretty sure this week has a ton of gifts in it, because that's just my personality. Um, and then talk through my full consultation process, at asking questions, how we close things, and then even handling objections, so that like when you do get that, like, well, we got to look at other photographers, you kind of know what to say without creating a high pressure sales system, because this is all based off low pressure. Um, and then week 4 is all the leads. Finally, now we're working on leads and everything else, and compound actions, and focusing on what matters. And so like I think it's always interesting, because everyone's kind of had a different one. Like Nicole surprised me completely yesterday. She said week 1 was her favorite. You said week 3. I think Brett was either week 3 or week 4. I can't remember exactly, but there's value in all of it. Like, you make changes all the way through, no matter where you're at in the course.
Yeah.
Um, would you say, like, I mean, obviously we know numbers wise, right? Like we've had the 3 bookings in one single day. You've made your investment back, even if, let's say, the course, the higher end of the course where we actually do done for you stuff was at like 5,600.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean, obviously I've made the money back. Like, let me
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
squaring the numbers up.
Yeah.
Well worth it.
Yeah. And what's
Yeah.
cool too is we've added in a guarantee where, like, if you don't get results back within 60 days of that course, then
Yeah.
I'm going to coach you until you do. Like
I mean,
I
part of
feel
me
like,
just wanted to get my money back, because it's you, but
listen, there's a
unfortunately it
trust
worked
factor,
out.
and I would have checked your homework. Yeah, but it is one of those things where it's like, there's really almost no risk to it, because the only risk is the jump right now.
Mhm.
But I'm going to make sure you land. That's my job,
Yeah.
is to make sure you land. As long as you're putting in the work, you're going to land somewhere else.
The
Outside of the
amount of random Zoom calls we've jumped on, just be like,
oh,
hey,
dude,
dude, like, what's your SEO looking like?
I like to check
Awesome.
in. Yeah.
Yeah.
And even, I mean, we have the blogging workshop that's going to be a bonus for the people who are signing up,
Mhm.
but every other past member is more than welcome to come join that workshop, which I think, again, just a rarity. And if you can't catch it, it's going to be included in the course afterwards. It's beautiful stuff. So we talked a little bit about your booking process. We've kind of talked about like where you feel like your biggest impact was. What do you think? Do you think there was a difference between like doing a course like this, where you're hanging out with me, versus a course where you're just like watching a screen, kind of watching video go through? Do you feel like that made a bigger impact for you?
Absolutely. Because, right off the bat, there's the accountability aspect, right? It's like if I'm showing up to that, if I'm actually showing up to that, it's like I'm watching you live. Like
Yeah.
I'm talking to you, you're talking to me. There's so much more accountability to that rather than just like watching a bunch of videos at your own pace. Because I mean, I guarantee, like, I've spent a lot of money on different courses, and not to hate on any of them. This is more of a me thing.
Sure.
I haven't finished a lot of them, right? Like
Yeah.
I tend to cherry pick certain things, or if I get bored, I'll watch the one thing that seems interesting, and great. Like I've gotten value out of that.
Sure.
To be forced to go through it step by step and like talk to a real person is tremendous. Like I value that more. I put more value on that. I'm able to engage with that more. You're checking in each week, giving homework as we go through. Like the experience of that is so much better, so much more intentional, more depth to it, I would say, because of
Yeah.
that. Because if I'm like, hey, dude, the thing about gift giving doesn't make sense. Like I just want to be an asshole. Why can't I? You can like live, be like, hey, don't be an asshole. Here's why.
Yeah.
And
Well,
go
and
from
that's the thing too. Like, there's not necessarily a wrong answer. Like, if you tell me, like, I don't want gift giving, and it makes sense for your brand, I'm not going to pull you away from it. I'm just going to challenge it until you have a way to sell it otherwise.
yeah.
It's like, if you don't want to make that part of your brand, which I'll be honest with you, is kind of a huge mistake in my eyes.
Mhm.
If you have a way to sell it and it makes sense, and you're not like making huge problems for yourself, then I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think it's like this open conversation.
My
Brett and I
brand is
talked about
changed.
engagements for a good like 45 minutes on one of those sessions, kind of going back and forth, because you just have to change that perspective. And it's not just your client that needs a perspective change, like in the booking process, because they're thinking, oh, I just need pretty photos.
Yeah.
No, we need safeguarded moments. But I think there's a perspective for photographers too. It's like, you have to start treating them like, if you want to be in a luxury market, you want to be charging $10,000 per wedding, you want to make 20K in a day. You can't do it the same way everyone else is doing it. You have to do what other people aren't doing. And I think like you for sure, dude, like you've always been such a giving person. You've always like, when you start something, you put effort in, and it obviously pays off, I'd imagine.
Usually, I mean, this
Yeah,
time it definitely did.
yeah, for sure this time. So I think that's really great. Is there anything else you kind of like you think really stood out for you?
I mean, those are the big things, like, right.
Yeah.
Like the first week was awesome. I still honestly have to do more of my homework on that as far as rewriting my website.
Yeah.
But I would say, I mean, anybody who follows that, like, it's going to have you asking questions about what you're doing, is going to allow you to rewrite things. I think, once again, to better communicate value and like why you do what you do and why people should value that, which is awesome. Like, I mean, I would really say, like, as far as the course goes and as far as Roy goes, I'm talking to you. As far as
I
Roy
love
goes,
it.
tell him, like, you're going to get out of it as much as you're willing to put in. So
Yeah.
if you want to just show up and kind of like listen and nod off, cool. Like you'll get a little bit. But if you're willing to like engage and ask questions and really like do what he tells you to and listen, like there's so much there.
Yeah. From a client perspective, right? Like, when you're going through those, because you booked your highest package, I got to ask this. Do you feel like you were
Yeah.
pressuring them at all, or were they like really excited? Do you feel like you served them more than you sold them?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. They were really, honestly, it's so I have like, a lot of insecurities about things, and they were going towards the higher package. And my insecurity was like telling me like, hey, dude, talk them down, talk them down. Like nobody should pay you that much money. And I was like, hey, it's okay. Like all I'm doing is showing up and serving them. I'm gonna like point them to exactly what I think makes the most sense.
Yeah.
Like if they want to go high, they want to go low, that's fine. And I got to know them, and like it legitimately, like those top two packages make the most sense to them.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of the cool thing too, is like, you may have these crazy high prices, right? I'm 16.5 for my collection at this point, and it's not about, oh, you have to buy this, or it's like, it's not a used car salesman proposition. It's like, hey, this is an option, and if this makes sense to you and you're excited about it, then I want you to have that ability to have it. And so that way, you're never like in this sales proposition where like, hey, listen, if you don't book within 24 hours, that spot's gone. Well, first of all, they don't sign the contract and give me a retainer, the spot's gone anyway. It's like, it's not up, it's up for grabs until someone pays for it.
Yeah.
But I'm never going to be like, oh, this is a 72-hour offer. No, once we meet, we have this consultation. It's good until, you don't have the date available really at that point. And I think that's one of those key things where people are they're putting so much pressure on these sales meetings, or they're not even putting any pressure at all and just sending it through email. And it's such a huge miss, for the relationship part of the job. Because you have to understand your clients, right? Like, I'm photographing a documented family moment. If I don't take the time to learn who you are, I'm not going to do a good job,
Yeah.
or I'm going to miss things that I would have grabbed otherwise, because I understand you as a person now. I think it's really key to the whole change. With that said, I'm gonna go ahead and throw this out here, because we are a day and like 9 hours out from this thing being closed for this year. This is the last time we're going to run it open. I'm not doing another one until 2023. And I'm not even going to tell you when that's going to be, because I don't know yet. But I am going to say, like, we have this Friday is going to be the close for it. And if you don't have an appointment scheduled with me, you're going to lose like the $600 off. You're going to miss out on some other opportunities that are going to be thrown in as bonuses. You're just going to miss some stuff that I think is going to help you change, not just like the next year, but like the blogging workshop is going to be focused on how you get quick leads from blogs, because everyone talks about SEO as this like slow thing. So course starts at 1900 minus 600. That puts you down to 1300. As long as my public school math is working, which we know it's failed me in the past. It's going to start there, and it kind of goes up from there depending on what you want. Now, when we go up, we're not taking away things for the most part. We're just not adding in, like at the lower tiers, like you maybe are someone who just wants to watch a video. We have that option for you. If you want to come hang out with me and actually learn the way Alex did, where you have some accountability and you can actually ask me questions directly, then you have the live version. Past that, we have some done for you stuff. Alex, we wrote some blogs for you. Those seem to be working fairly well for you right now.
Yeah, I mean, they work very well. They're also just very well written in general, like worth reading for their own sake. Like I've learned things from them, you know.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, our research is we're top notch. We do focus on that, so you get that stuff done, and we write those while you're going through the course. So your business is growing two different ways as we kind of run through it. So that when you're done, you're just you just get text me, hey Roy, I got this big one, I got this one, I got this one, and that's kind of what's going on right now. And I love it. I'm living vicariously through this stuff. It allows me to experiment with my business so I can teach you guys better things. It allows me to hear big wins like this for Alex. Like, Alex, tell me, life changing as far as like that kind of income and confidence, right?
Oh, it feels so, yeah, it feels fantastic. I'm like, oh, people are willing to do this now. Like, that's cool. I'm so much less stressed about next year, which allows me to focus on other opportunities and try other things out. So yeah, absolutely.
And you're not even, it's not like people knew you in Colorado before. Like you're new. There was no,
I kind of just appeared there earlier this year.
He's just uploaded into that area, and right away you're getting a $12,000 potential booking off one of these, up to 20 for the whole thing. And that's wild. Like people go into new markets and they think they have to match the market's price, but you clearly picked up on my point that it has nothing to do with the market. The market does not dictate your price in this case. It does for certain things like cars, for sure. That's a commodity, but you're not a commodity. You're a service. And as long as you have the confidence and you have the understanding of what matters between that client, whatever you say is going to be worth it to them if it makes sense for them.
Yeah.
Well, cool, dude. I always love hanging out with you. Cannot wait for you to come out to Florida.
Yes.
This is great. I mean, dude, I'm so excited to see more wins come through. I'm sure we're picking up steam now. We're just going to be continuous to hit those through as engagement session kind of goes through, which is another good point for anyone who's listening to this and like on the fence. Look, engagement session is now. People are going to get next week, Thursday. That's when people are going to get engaged in front of their families. After that, it's going to be Christmas. And then you have New Year's, and then you have Valentine's Day. So if you're not hitting those holidays, if you're not ready with those with blog posts, if you're not like thinking about that through, you're going to be missing out on tons and tons and tons of leads that 70% of other photographers aren't writing about. Even photographers who are good at SEO typically aren't writing about that. They just focus on venues, or they just focus on just like wedding sections of the day, or like stuff that can help someone plan a wedding, rather than like, hey, this person is going to propose. They need someone. And if there's no one to help them in that market, you're going to miss that opportunity. All that said, if you want to talk to me, go ahead and type manifest into the comments. If you're watching the replay, because I completely forgot to say this at the beginning, go ahead and type replay in the comments, because we're all new to this. And if you have any questions, just post them in the group. I'm happy to answer them live. I'm happy to answer them on a phone call with you. I'm not going to force you into the program, but if it makes sense for your business, I want to make sure you have that opportunity. Again, serving over selling. So cool. Well, thanks again, Alex. I'll talk to you soon, bud.
Sounds good, man. Peace.
Right. Bye.
Bye.